Welcome back to my channel, the Silver Hair Homemaker. This video finds us in the kitchen once again, cooking with ramen. So come on, go with me, and over the next few days, let's see what we can do with some ramen. We're going to start this video, of course, with a pot of water on the stove. That's 2 cups of water. I've turned it on high. We're going to bring it to a boil, and we're going to cook these noodles for about 2 to 3 minutes. We're not going to discard the packet, but we're not going to put it in the beginning. Follow me and I'll show you what we're going to do. I've broken my noodles up into larger chunks, and we're going to just dump it in this pot of boiling water. Cook for 2 to 3 minutes. Let's get these drained. Putting your ramen noodles back into the same pot that they were in when they cooked, you want to take a half a tablespoon of butter and put it right off in your ramen. Let that melt down. Now, as this butter is melting into your ramen, this is where you want to take your flavor packet, get it opened up, and you want to dump it right off in there. Now, if you don't want to dump the whole thing in, don't. Or if you don't want to use it at all, just don't use it. But you want to take that and you want to stir it around. Get that flavor packet incorporated in with the butter and the noodles. Now we're going to set this right here to the side for just a minute. Now you want to get you a pan and you want to put it on the stove. Turn it on about a medium heat. You want to take another half a tablespoon of butter and you want to put it in this pan back here. Let that start melting down. Now while your butter is melting down in your skillet back there, you want to take 4 of these. These are eggs. You're going to crack 4 of them in a bowl. Like so. Now this recipe calls for a half a cup of chopped bell peppers and a half a cup of chopped onions. I have fresh onions, but I do not keep fresh bell peppers. Wasn't going to buy any. I do, however, keep some frozen pepper and onion strips. So this is what I'm using, and since it calls for a half a cup of each, I'm just going to use 1 cup total of this blend. So I have my 1 cup total, and we're just going to put it in that skillet with the butter. We're just going to take that and stir it around in the butter. We're just going to saute these veggies, and in my case, I want them to thaw. So that's what we're doing here. This should take just a few minutes. Now, while we're doing that, you want to take some type of deli Black Forest ham, and you want to get this cut up into small pieces or sliced up. And you need about, it says 4 pieces. So we'll start with 4 and go from there. We'll be adding this in when our peppers are sauteed. I have changed my mind. Since this is so thin, you can see how thin this is that I have. It's just paper thin. Instead of tearing it, I am going to cut it. I'm not going to cut it in any particular way. I'm just going to slice it up like that, and then slice it again this way, just so that it's in smaller pieces. And this is probably about 6 slices. I don't know that that's going to be enough. I'm probably going to add about 4 more slices. A serving size of that ham is 10 slices, so let's add a few more. Now this recipe is going to make enough for at least 2 people, even though you're only using the 1 package of ramen. I think that should be plenty. My veggies are coming along quite nicely. They have thawed out, so now we're just sauteing them up just a little bit. Okay. My peppers and onions are thawed and they're sauteed pretty good. So we're going to add the ham in. Get that mixed around with your peppers and onions and let it heat through. You want to take your 4 eggs that you have in your bowl and you want to go ahead and get those beaten up. I usually use a fork. You can use a whisk if that's what you choose to use. Just get them kind of scrambled up like this to get them ready to go in that pan. I'm going to add another ½ tablespoon of butter in my pan. Let that get nice and melted. Once that's heated through, you're going to add your noodles into this pan. Just kind of get those stirred around in there. Now you want to take your 4 eggs that you have beaten in this bowl and you want to add those in. We are making a ramen omelet. I know, sounds crazy, right? Now you're going to season this to taste. I'm not going to use any salt because I did use the flavor packet and I do have some ham. So I'm not going to be adding any salt into it. I am, however, going to add some onion powder. And I'm going to be adding in some black pepper. You just want to take this and you just want to kind of stir it around. You're heating that ramen back up and you're allowing the eggs to cook. Now this is what we're looking like so far. It's resembling an omelet, but it needs one more thing. Now, what is a good omelet without some cheese? And you know, this is the type of cheese I use if you've been watching any of my videos. You use any type of cheese that you would like to use, but this is what I'm using, and I'm going to sprinkle some on the top. We're going to call this breakfast ramen omelet done. Let's get it plated up and give it a taste. Okay, y'all. We have our breakfast ramen omelet all dished up, ready to give it a taste. I'm going to try to get some of everything: peppers, onions, ramen, ham. It smells so good with those peppers and onions. Let's give it a taste. That is surprisingly good. I had my doubts. I just had my doubts. Not sure why. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm gonna go eat. Alright, in this next recipe, per usual, 2 cups of water in a pot on the stove, turn on high, bring it to a boil. Got my ramen. I'm going to discard this packet, even though I will be using some beef bouillon in this recipe. I do not want this. Dump your ramen in. You're going to cook this for 2 to 3 minutes. This is finished, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to drain it. I've got my ramen drained and I'm going to set it to the side. Now you're going to get you a skillet of some sort and you want to take some oil. I'm using olive oil and I'm going to just put some oil, maybe a little more, in the bottom of that skillet. I'm going to heat this on a medium heat. To our skillet, we're going to be adding some of this 3-color pepper and onion strip blend. This is what I have hanging out in the freezer. This is what I'm going to use. I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to pour in however much I feel is a correct amount. Just going to get my pepper and onion mix stirred around in here. And we're going to let this start heating through. I am going to add in a few more of the pepper and onion blend, just because I'm not quite sure if that's going to be enough. Now I'm going to take some of these sandwich steaks, and I'm not sure how many I'm going to use yet, at least 4, maybe 5, and we're going to get these put in the skillet. Now some might argue that I should take the onions and peppers out of my skillet before I do the beef, but It's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's still going to work. So we're going to toss these in. This is number 4. And I think we're going to go in with a 5th one. And we're going to call that good. And I'm just going to get that beef kind of broke up into smaller pieces. Now while my beef is cooking up, I am going to add in some onion powder. You season it however you want to. And I'm going to add in some black pepper. And now for those of you who would argue and say that, oh, that's not beef, that's not real beef. It is. It says 100% pure beef sliced steaks on the front. They're chopped and then shaped into thin slices for sandwiches. But it is 100% pure beef. So don't come for me. Ingredients. 1 ingredient. Beef. So there you go. Very easy to cook and work with. Very tasty too. Now this is optional, but I am going to add in a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Just a little smidge. Just stir that up in there. My beef is almost finished cooking. You want to cook it till it's no longer pink. And now you can go ahead and add your peppers and onion mix back in. Now this could be taken in many directions right now with what I have going on this stove, but I'm going in one particular direction. At this point, I'm going to drain off any excess grease that I have in my pan because I don't want the grease in what I'm about to make. So I'm just going to let it all run to one side, take a paper towel, and soak up that extra grease and any water that may be in here. I am going to move this to the side. I've turned my heat down to a low to medium, about a 3.5. We'll turn it back up in a few minutes, but first I need to add a couple of ingredients. I'm going to be adding in some beef broth. Now you might say, well, Jana, why didn't you just use the flavor packet? Well, because I don't really care for the flavor of that flavor packet, number one. And I just prefer this over that. So that is my reason for not using it. You feel free to use it if you want to. But we're going to pour a 1/2 cup of beef broth in our skillet. Now you can take the peppers and onions out if you want to. I'm choosing not to. Now we're also going to use a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. Now just stir your beef broth and your heavy whipping cream together. Now I'm making a Philly cheesesteak ramen. And I know that Philly cheesesteak calls for provolone cheese. I've checked my fridge. I don't have any provolone. I do have some of these. It's white American. I know it's not the same. I know it has a different taste. But we're just going to go with a Philly cheesesteak vibe, okay? They don't have to be completely correct. I'm just going to tear these into pieces and put them in. I'm not sure how many we're going to use. At least 3, maybe 4. But let's get this cheese put in. Okay, I have 3 in here so far. We're just going to stir this around and let that cheese start melting. We're just going to let that cheese melt. We're sort of making a sauce for this. I think I am going to go in with a 4th piece of cheese. Yes, it's American Singles. Yes, I'm using this. I know that some of y'all are out there just sucking the air out of the room because of me using this cheese, but that's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. Just let that cheese melt down. Now we're going to get this meat and peppers and onions mixed in with this sauce. And we're just going to let this simmer for a few minutes. I'm going to turn my heat back up to a medium for just a few minutes. Now I'm going to add my ramen into my sauce. Just get your ramen mixed in with everything else. It's nice and creamy. We're just going to let this simmer for a few minutes. Let all those flavors get married together. This is what we're looking like. It looks so good. It smells delicious. That's what we're looking like today. Now I'm going to set this over here to the side and let it cool down for just a minute, because as it cools, this sauce is going to thicken up just a little bit, and that's what I'm looking for. Now let's get some of this in this bowl. Now that's what I'm looking for when I wanted it to thicken up. It's still nice and hot. That is a hearty portion, and there is enough left to eat a second time. So that's great. I don't have to cook tomorrow. Let's go give it a taste. Okay. This is our Philly cheesesteak ramen. And I hope that it is as good as it smells, because it smells delicious. It's very simple, very easy. Don't come for me. I know it's not provolone. I know it's not true Philly cheesesteak, but it gives off a Philly cheesesteak vibe. So, this is delicious. I'm telling you, this one right here, this is a 10 out of 10. If you're going to make any of them, make this one. So far, out of all of the ramen recipes that I've done, and I will link the playlist up here somewhere. I have a ramen playlist, and out of all of the recipes that I've done in any of my videos, I think this one right here is my favorite. Yeah. This is creamy, very flavorful. I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna start this recipe by putting a skillet on the stove back here, turning it on a medium heat, adding some olive oil to it, and let that heat up. While my oil is heating up, we're going to cut up some of this onion. Now I'm not going to use that whole onion. This is a little less than half of it, and I'm probably not going to use that much. I'm just going to start slicing it. You slice yours however you want to, or if you don't want to put onion, don't add onion. This is probably going to be enough onion. Now I'm going to put it in this skillet back here. And you're just going to stir your onions around in the oil and let them start cooking up. You want them to get translucent and soft. While you're cooking your onions up, get you some water in a pot, put it on the stove, and bring it to a boil. You want to cook this ramen according to the package directions, only I'm cheating a little bit. I'm not using 2 cups of water. I'm only using 1.5 cups. That way I don't have to drain so much off. And you're not going to use this packet. We're going to toss this to the side. Okay, my water's boiling. Ramen is going in. Let that cook for 2 to 3 minutes. Let's check in on our onions. Oh, they are coming along right nicely. At this point, I'm going to add in a little minced garlic to mine. Just, oh, I don't know. That's less than a tablespoon. You want to get that garlic stirred around in there with the onions. And once it starts getting fragrant and turning a little brown, you're going to know that that garlic is done. Then we'll move to the next step. Now while I have all of that going on, I'm going to take about 5 of these Philly Gourmet sliced steaks. It's like steakums. And I'm going to take about 5 of them. You don't have to do what I'm about to do. You can just throw them over in your pan with your onions and your garlic. But I'm actually going to cut mine into strips before I put mine in this recipe. My ramen is finished, so I'm going to take that off the heat and I'm going to get this drained. Now I did not drain this completely. I have left some of the liquid in there because I'm going to add that in to my pan back here when I add my ramen. I'm just going to take and I'm going to cut them that way, just in strips. And like I said, you don't have to do this. You can skip this step altogether. Got my onions back here and they are getting crispy, and that is how I want mine. Now you don't have to cook them as long as I'm doing mine if you don't want to. I want mine crispy. Just going to take this beef and I'm just going to put it off in this skillet. We're going to let that cook up. You want to get your beef all stirred up in there with your onions and let it cook till it's brown. I'm going to add just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce in. And I'm going to add in some black pepper. You can do a lot with these little steaks right here. These are not just for sandwiches. Now while my beef is cooking with my onions back there, I'm taking 1 cup of water, got it in this measuring cup, and I'm going to take 1 package of this reduced sodium brown gravy mix. You use whatever brown gravy mix you want. You also can make a homemade gravy if you choose to do that. I'm taking the easy route today, so this is what I'm using. I'm going to pour this in this water and take a whisk, and I'm going to get it mixed up. Just whisk it till you don't have any lumps in it. Now back to my beef and onions. That's getting a little bit of a crisp on it, and that's how I want it. But I don't want that extra grease. So I'm just going to take some paper towels. I'm going to get down in the skillet with them. And I'm going to get some of that grease off there. You just drain the grease off however you want to drain it off. Or if you don't want to drain it off, don't drain it off. Who am I to tell you what you have to do in your kitchen? Now we're going to take our gravy mix. And we're just going to pour it off in this skillet with the beef and onions. Get that gravy stirred around in there and let it start thickening up. Now once that gravy starts getting thick, I'm going to take my ramen noodles. And it still has a little bit of the ramen water in it. And I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to pour it off in there. Just get your ramen noodles stirred up in there with everything else. Now this is going to feed you at least 2 or 3 times. So you can put a salad with this on the side, or you could make any kind of vegetable you want. You could do Brussels sprouts, you could do sweet potato, you could do asparagus if you eat asparagus. I don't eat asparagus, that's why you won't ever see it in any of my videos. Broccoli would be great with this on the side or in it if that's what you chose to do. You could even eat the beef and onions and gravy over the ramen if you choose to do it that way. I just choose to mix mine up. But we're going to have some beef and gravy ramen for lunch today. Let's get this dished up. That looks and smells delicious. Let's give it a taste. Okay, y'all. Can't really see it. We're going to give this a taste. See how it is. Now you could put green onions on top of it if you want to. I didn't because I've got plenty of onion inside. And I know that green onion has a little bit of a different taste than a regular onion. But I'm not going to use any today. This is delicious. This is delicious. You could add carrots to this. You could add peas and carrots to this if you wanted to. If you like mushrooms, add you some mushrooms in. I don't like mushrooms, so no mushrooms here. But there are a lot of variations, a lot you can do with this. Add in whatever you like. I'm going to go eat. I hope you've enjoyed this video. There is so much that you can do with ramen to make it go from ordinary to extraordinary. You can put just about anything in some ramen and make it good. If you liked this video, please go give it a thumbs up, share the video, leave me a comment below, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.